Hey, Archie, have you noticed how it's easier than ever to spend money without even knowing it?
Rob, I sure have, and you have to add a little bit of friction to it. I'm Archie Hoxton.
And I'm Rob Hoxton.
And this is Last Paycheck, weekly wisdom to help you retire and stay that way. Welcome back to the Last Paycheck Podcast, brought to you by Hoxton Planning and Management. We're your hosts, Archie Hoxton and Rob Hoxton. And today, we're going to talk about a really important topic, and one that is kind of stressful too.
Yeah, it's a little taboo.
Yeah, it's overspending and, spending within your means versus kind of going beyond your means, and how much harder it is to stay within your means in the modern world with all of the conveniences of financial technology that's out there now. It's gotten really hard, and there's a lot of research to, that supports that feeling that we all have that, it's gotten a little easier to kind of spend beyond your means lately.
Yeah, I mean, credit cards are bad enough. Being able to pay with your phone is tough too. And when you get to the point where you're retired and you're on a fixed income, you've really got to be careful not to overspend.
Yeah, because it's important throughout your entire life to be able to spend within your means and not go into a lot of debt, just to manage your day-to-day lifestyle. But while you're working, you can always, if you get a little ahead of yourself, you can always pull back again and kind of use your income to get yourself back on top. When you're retired, though, the assets that you've accumulated are the very things creating your income. So to chip away at that, at an unsustainable rate, you don't have the income to fall back on from work. So
and it's, I think of personal finance a little bit like diet, right? I mean, I've always struggled with my weight, and the thing that I know that works really well is just keeping track of what you eat. And keeping a journal and knowing what your calories and maybe your micronutrients are, and just being mindful. And today it's so easy to spend money and not even know you're doing it. Like I was thinking about this before we began the recording. I have this little white, it's about the size of a deck of cards attached to my windshield. And I can drive around and lose money through that little deck of cards. If I go through a toll gate, it takes it right out.
Oh, your Easy Pass.
My Easy Pass. And so I'm much more inclined to go through the toll gate instead of taking maybe the little bit longer route that doesn't have a toll road. And there are more and more of those all the time, but it takes it out. And what's really amazing is when the account gets drawn down, it just goes right to my credit card and grabs some more money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, holy cow, it's so easy to spend money.
Yeah. And we're in a situation where that's one element, one sort of leak that you have in your financial life. But you think about how so many services have moved to the subscription model, where you might have 20 different subscriptions. Maybe they're $5 here, $10 there, maybe a couple of them are $50. But I mean, those, you don't even think about it.
Oh, and they raise the amount periodically, and you don't realize that. I have this Apple Watch, and it has a charge on there that gives me the ability to make a phone call from it or to stream music on my Apple Watch without having my phone near me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had that. I don't think I've ever used that.
Right.
And I've had the Apple Watch for like 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, these little charges. And so I think there's, they call it frictionless payment, where there's no pain, there's no friction to the transaction. It just happens. You either don't think about it, you don't notice it. And there's kind of levels. I would say subscriptions, your Easy Pass, where it's just pulling money as it needs it. That's like the lowest level of friction, where you set it once, you start the free trial for something. Yeah, I'll try it out. Sure. You forget about it. 30 days later, money's going out the door every single month, and you're wondering like, well, gosh, things feels a little tight. Like, why is it? Well, because, you got 20 companies going into your bank account or your credit card and money.
There's actually frictionless pickpocketing now. So like we were traveling abroad earlier this month, and our travel agent said, hey, make sure that you keep your wallet in your front pocket or someplace close, and also make sure that you've got a special wallet that won't let a pickpocket just stand next to you and suck money out of your credit card.
Wow.
So I have this little hard-cased wallet that I put all my cards in when we were strolling around Delhi, in India, and apparently that place is rife with digital pickpockets.
Wow.
And you can't feel them, right?
Yeah,
they don't bump into you. You have no idea that they did it. They just stand next to you and suck it right out of your card, your ATM card, your credit card. So not only is it easy to spend money that you have agreed to spend without realizing it, but it's also easy to spend money that you didn't agree to spend and somebody's stealing from you as well.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I didn't know about that. That's kind of scary.
But that's kind of not really the subject of this episode, but really being mindful about your spending and understanding when you're spending, how much you're spending, and how you're spending is critically important. And there are some old-fashioned solutions we can talk about as well.
Yeah, and I think that one of the trends that we've seen over a long period of time particularly in the US, is a tendency towards credit cards, right? You go back far enough, and credit cards weren't the most common form of payment. Over time, they have become incredibly common with all kinds of incentives and points and miles and offers and deals. I mean, all kinds. I mean, it's actually amazing how those products are marketed and how attractive these offerings can be. But I think that's where this sort of overspending, this first sort of move to less friction happened, where before, if you wrote a check out of your bank account or you paid cash for something, there was that sense of, I have something and I'm losing something. My money I'm immediately right now losing this money in exchange for whatever good I want. And, that's sort of like top level friction. You're balancing your checkbook, right? I mean, there's enough friction there. There's enough pain there that the transaction, it doesn't feel like nothing. And, you're not paying all this money without even noticing. And then it took a step down, I think, with credit cards where you swipe. It takes less time, or you tap, and then the money doesn't go out of your bank account. You still have your money. Technically, and you shouldn't do this, but technically you could pay that next month if you needed to. So it sort of, it reduces that friction, that sense of loss of something in exchange for that thing you want, to the point where behaviorally and psychologically, it just gets a little easier to spend the money.
I can't remember the last time I actually I always have cash in my wallet because I'm from an older generation that always likes to have a little cash in my wallet, but I can't remember the last time I had coins in my wallet. I was thinking about it. I go to the car wash. Used to be you had to put coins in. The kind with the little wand and everything.
Yeah.
You used to have to put coins in there. No, you just tap your credit card against it or your phone.
Yeah.
You go to the laundromat. I went to wash the dog bed at the laundromat, and there wasn't even a little slit in the washing machine to put a coin in. And so it's true. You don't really feel like, if you go to the car wash the old-fashioned way and you had $10 worth of quarters in your pocket, there was this sort of urgency to get the car washed before you burn through all those quarters, right? Well, there's not that urgency anymore. It's like you don't even know how many quarters you're spending when you wash the car. And that's true of all of these frictionless spending.
Yeah, because you can also just tap and you don't actually, you might not even look at the price.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's a rise in services that not only are they frictionless, but how they've reduced friction. It's become so easy that they've actually kind of surcharged it a little bit. So DoorDash, Grubhub, these are perfect examples where not only do you not have to take money, pay cash or write a check, take money out of your bank account. You can use a credit card. You can use your mobile wallet, which is even easier. You have it right there in the app. You don't even have to get off the couch. You can get a McDonald's Happy Meal.
Yeah, nobody ever DoorDashes a salad, right?
Oh yeah. It's always the junky stuff. Salads probably don't travel quite as well anyway. But so the friction is so low. You don't have to get off your couch, and they bring it right to your door. But they surcharge for it. So what might be a $20 meal is now a $30 meal or a $35 meal.
And it's a Happy Meal. You're going broke and getting fat at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one that I think is particularly dangerous because it's easy to overspend if you're spending.
What a great service, though. These people that invented that are brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and it also, if you need to make some money, I mean, you can go out and probably most towns in America, you can go out and deliver DoorDash and, make some money on the side.
How about when you go out? Like, it doesn't matter where you go and what you're doing. You're going to be asked to tip, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of the point where it's ridiculous, but it's so easy to tip if you don't have to use cash. I remember like many, many years ago when I was courting your mom, I would save all this money up from, all this money, a little bit of money that I would make in my summer job. And so I could take her out for a pizza and go to the movie. And it was cash. I had cash. And so as we're looking at the menu and I'm worrying about what your mom was going to order, she wasn't your mom or my wife at that time, but what she was going to order and would I have enough cash?
Yeah.
And then I had to also factor in a tip. I was really completely present and mindful about my spending, but it's so easy not to be. And when you're not mindful, you spend more. There's just no doubt about it. It's the same way with dieting. If you're not mindful, you take in more calories.
Yeah. Well, and it's, demonstrated in the statistics. I mean, when you look at the numbers for average credit card balance, $6,500 average credit card balance.
And that's actually down a little bit from a few years ago, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's been bad at times. Average car payment, $730 for a new car. It's like in the 500s for used cars.
Wow.
And the debt is another one that will make it very, very hard to stay within your means. And if you have ongoing debt payments, but there are ways to, pull it back and, get control. But I think in almost every scenario, you need to bring some friction back in and make it.
That's why I love cash.
Yeah.
The old fashioned way of having envelopes for each of your major budget items.
Yeah.
And putting cash in it. And once the cash is gone,
it's gone.
If you aren't in a new month and there's new cash in it, you don't spend the money.
That's a great system and probably the single most reliable. And I would say it's probably, if you're willing to make the sacrifices that it takes to actually boil your financial life down to that level, it's probably the most effective budgeting method, period. There's also other ways, like manually keeping a budget and reconciling your budget at the end of every pay period or the end of every month and going through and painstakingly looking at every expense and categorizing it. And that almost kind of creates some friction that makes you at the end of the month remember, or at the end of the pay period, oh, wow, okay, I did, that is how much I spent. And now like I am kind of in a tight spot or
that truly is the way, if you think about the way that you get stronger and more agile as a human being, it's through repetition and discipline and getting that exercise.
Yeah.
Keeping a budget and doing it the old-fashioned way is just like doing those reps, the weightlifting, and it will make you stronger and better and more in control of your financial life if you'll simply do it. There are some great apps to sort of automate it. I like Monarch. I think that's really an awesome tool, but it's still, because it's automated, it doesn't require the same commitment and level of attention that doing it on a piece of paper and balancing your checkbook on a journal, it just...
Yeah, and if you're doing it well, you can see your net worth slipping away, or you can see your net worth growing. And it takes some courage to look at it, I think, every month, because you got to be like, all right, I got to own up to the way I spent money last month. It's like getting on the scale after a particularly fun weekend. Yeah. It takes that discipline to do it, but I think it's so worth it. And because we're all human, we all have a tendency to sort of automatically gravitate to the path of least resistance. And right now, with the financial tools that we all have at the ready, path of least resistance is right there in front of us to just spend. So bring some resistance and friction back into your financial life. And hopefully, you'll see some results that reflect in your net worth column. So anyway, I think that's probably about all we can cover today. Giant topic. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. But if you liked it, if you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below. Remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time. You've been watching Last Paycheck, weekly wisdom to help you retire and stay that way. If you like this show, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Last Paycheck is available anywhere you get your podcasts.